Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Sarah Gottfried. Welcome back to the Health Bridge. I'm here with Dr. Pedram Shojai.
Hey. Hi, everyone.
I want to talk about some hacks today, Pedram. I feel like one of the things that's happening in my Gong is I am looking at some new ways to meditate and to do it super efficiently. And I thought it would be fun to focus on productivity and Headspace and what really works for you. You know, whether our listeners are doing the Gong with us or not, I think this can be useful. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sounds good. And I'll tell you, I have a 20-minute meditation in my Gong, and I'm a meditator, but I'd kind of gotten out of the habit of sitting for longer periods of time, and 20 isn't even that long, but it is when you're busy. In the first couple weeks, man, it was like I kept looking at my timer on my phone going, oh my God, it's only been 4 minutes, right? And now I'm kind of in stride, but it takes us a while to slow down and clear that space to be able to be in a place where you're not swimming around in the noise. So yeah, I think that would be a wonderful thing to talk about today.
Cool. Well, I'm going to kick off with one of my favorite new hacks, and I want to attribute Tim Ferriss and Kevin Rose for this one. I was listening to Tim's podcast where he was hanging out and catching up with one of his friends, Kevin Rose, and Kevin was talking about this free app on the iPhone called Headspace. And what he said was, you can do this 10-day challenge where you do 10 minutes of meditation. It's guided, so you're not, sitting on the chair trying to do it yourself. And you take a challenge to do it for 10 days, commit to 10 days. It's a free app. It's called Headspace. It's really easy to get your hands on. And I just finished my 10 days, and I totally loved it.
What was it about it that made it awesome? Like, what made you love it?
Well, what I like is, I'm dopamine girl. I always need like a fresh source of dopamine. I tend to be a little low because I chew through it so fast. And so that's one of the reasons why meditation, mindfulness, yoga, Qigong is so helpful for me. But I also need some novelty when it comes to my practice. I have kind of a standard thing that I always do, but I like to mix it up. And so it's the mixing it up that was so helpful. And I don't need someone to take my hand for 10 minutes and guide me, but sometimes there's a real benefit to that, to just sort of allowing and to receive in a way that I don't always, am able to accomplish in my life. So that's what I found really helpful. And, maybe even more importantly, since I've been meditating for a while, is to have that beginner's mind, like to go back and to say, okay, for our listeners who maybe need to freshen up their contemplative practice or they're starting for the first time, what's an entry point that really is easy and makes sense? And so that's why I really loved this app, Headspace.
Awesome. Got it. So one of the things that I find to be super helpful in that is hacking your environment. And so when I found that sitting for 20 minutes was not as easy at the start of this Gong, we actually, finally finished our backyard at our new house. And there's this wonderful waterfall feature that we created that's just like a fountain, water pouring into a fountain. And so what I did is I said, okay, it's time for my meditation. And I would change my environment. I'd go sit in front of the waterfall and kind of get into a new space, a geospace, and also a new mental headspace that helped, because it was like, oh, this is where you go meditate, versus turning around in your office chair and being like, okay, I'm not thinking about the 4 calls I forgot to do, and all these things that happen as the mind is still active. So being able to take yourself, move from where you were to a new space. And we do that a lot in Tai Chi. It's like, okay, you're practicing here, now you take a breath, move into a new space, you're in a new environment. And you dramatically shift where you interface with that environment because you have allowed yourself to press reset. Easier said than done, but the way you do it, like some people take salt baths, right? Great. Get into a salt bath, put on some music, light some candles. If that's what it takes, that's your sacred space. Do it. And the apps are great because guess what? They're in your phone. That's wonderful. It's useful because it's easy.
Well, here's another one that's even easier. And for people who've gone to our page where we talk about the Gong, if you haven't done it, go to healthbridgeshow.com/Gong, and you can get all this information, including our labs and what we're doing. You suggested that I start doing Qigong, and you sent me a link to one of the YouTube videos that you have of you doing Qigong. You actually told me it was 12 minutes, but it's 15. I'm just going to correct you on that one.
Must have
But
lied.
I guess it goes by faster for you. But for our listeners who haven't done Qigong, what I love about this Pedram video is that it's pretty easy to do, and yet it really is transformative. And so if you go to our website, you can get the link to do it too, and it's free. So it's even easier, if you don't have an iPhone, whatever, that is a great solution. And I wanted to say, here's some things I love about it, because I think what brings me to Qigong is maybe a little bit different than what brings you to Qigong. I feel like when I do it in the morning, it lubricates my joints. And I didn't even know how dry my joints were. I'm 47 years young. There's less estrogen happening. There's, sometimes a frat party with estrogen happening in my body. And my shoulders will pop and crack, and my hips will pop and crack while I'm doing Qigong. And it just made me realize that it's a way of kind of lubricating and moving the Qi that I haven't had in my morning practice. It's not something I get if I'm just sitting. So I wanted to add that on as a hack for people.
Love it. Yeah, and look, I'm not saying do my Qigong because it's, the Pedram show. Do something Qigong, right? It doesn't matter, but the point is you break through adhesions, you break through the blockage. Energy is supposed to flow. And wherever we don't flow, that's where things stagnate and cause pain, cause suffering, cause indecision, whatever it is. And one of the things that I really love about the way Qigong works is because a lot of people, especially in the modern world, just can't sit there and close their eyes and say, okay, I'm meditating. It's like, oh my God, it's like an orchestra up here. But when you have your eyes open and you're focusing on doing a movement, and you're supposed to coordinate your eyes, your mind, your body, and your breath, and all of a sudden your hand's like way where it's not supposed to be, you go, oh, what am I doing? Right? And then you keep correcting it until you come into the task at hand. And what that does is I used to own Brain Labs, it lights up the sensory motor strip, and then you get all sorts of like cerebellar activation and all kinds of cool stuff that we'll see in the brain that then gives you that whole brain activity, which then allows you to run your day smoothly. It brings that brain balance by using the proprioception and testing the balance and challenging and breathing with it and all sorts of things that seem seemingly innocuous but are doing powerful things in the nervous system. And that's also why I like it, is because I've seen the science on it. It's like, wow, crap, that's actually better than most pills.
Nice. Very nice. Any more hacks you want to add on? Things that you've checked out recently that have been helping you kind of connect with the sacredness of life?
Yeah, what's funny is I had Abel James over about a month or so ago, and he was here for like 2 weeks, and we were doing all sorts of work on a show concept and just hanging out and enjoying Southern California. And one of the things that I found that I used to do all the time that I loved is we went bouldering in Malibu Creek, and just on all fours, crawling through these canyons and doing all sorts of fun stuff. And then I started doing cross crawls on the grass again. That just like a bear crawl, where you get on the grass and your right hand goes up, your left knee comes up, and you just kind of cross like a lizard would walk, right? And just go up and down a couple laps. It activates the posterior chain, gets all the back muscles lit up, but it does something very powerful for the brain that's on one hand really primal and kind of brings you into your body, and on another hand it just makes you feel alive and activated. So if you haven't done any like cross crawl type of activity and you're listening to this, I highly recommend it. Just go and do a bear crawl and do it nice and slowly. You don't need to kill yourself, just breathe with it, but it brings you into your body in a very profound way, and you'll know what I'm talking about once you've done it a couple times. So that's just a pearl. Just jump on that and try it, you guys.
Okay, that's totally cool. How funny. We were separated at birth because my older daughter, is playing JV volleyball at her school. And I was watching her practice one day, and they were doing these speed drills where they had to do bear crawl. And as I watched all these girls do it, some girls were just lightning fast. Other girls, let's just say their posterior chain activation was waking up, and they were a little slower. It made me think, oh my gosh, I haven't done that movement in, 35 years. And so I did it, and I went on a hike. One of the things in my Gong is to go on a hike a few times a week. And I went on a hike with my daughter, and I asked her to kind of show me how she did it because she was super fast. And it was so fun. It was just like, tapping into that pleasure factor is also such an important hack. So I really appreciate that one, Pedram. Thank you.
Love that. Thank you for going hiking with your daughter. That's awesome. And you know what's funny is, yeah, we forget. And there's a doctor down here in Southern California that's been doing this with kids because you know, someone showed up for our baby with a bouncer. And they're like, oh, you know, here's your gift. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but we're not putting them in this thing. And so I've been looking at all this research about how we're putting our kids in bouncers too quickly. And so if you put your kid in a bouncer before they're creeping and crawling, they lose that entire phase of development. And so there's a group down here in Southern California doing that with children who have learning disabilities, developmental disabilities, kids that have 2 left feet that just, you know, can't be good at soccer or baseball. And what's happening is they're doing these primal movements on the ground and then working them from creeping into crawling, into walking and all that. And the kids are doing great, but one of the things that has been kind of a sideshow that to me is fascinating is they're like, hey parents, get over here and do this with your kid. And people's old injuries are going away, a lot of like anxiety disorders, all kinds of crazy stuff that you would not even think about is getting better because we're finding that we're missing that connection between the body and the brain. And as we rewire that and repattern that through these types of primal movement, things start to wake up and we feel more whole and we act accordingly.
Wow. Nice hack, Pedram.
Hey, it's not mine. I just found it. You know what I mean? Like we have a kid in the family that was doing it, and the mom's telling, like, I'm at some cocktail party, the mom's talking about it, and I just turned like full circle and said, "Tell me more." Right? And it was just like, this is interesting. Tell me more. And so, you know me. I got to look. So yeah, it's really cool, and we'll pull some resources for you guys on the Facebook page if you're interested in this, facebook.com/thehealthbridge. And if you guys are interested in joining a Gong, you know, we have free resources there, healthbridgeshow.com/Gong. Anything else you'd like to add, Sarah?
I just want to say it's amazing to be with you. I'm so grateful to you. I'm so grateful to our listeners. This is, you know, still just one of my favorite things every week, to get together and have some fun and maybe help some people in the process.
Love it. See, we haven't had a love fest in a while. Here it is.
There it is.
Awesome. Guys, we will see you next time. Until then, if you're on a Gong, keep up the good work. If you're not, check it out. And if you're, you know, into doing something else, then just keep doing what you know is right. Keep bettering your health. Just one little thing a day, one little hack a day. You'll find that you will eke out more vitality. And with that, you'll be able to live life more fully. And we're here to support you. Sarah, great to see you and talk to you. And we'll see you all next time.
All right. Thank you, Pedram. Bye, everybody.
Bye.